I'm not liking my hair today.
We should talk about that.
Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen, Alex King, and Tom Wells here. Today is Friday, March the 8th, 2019. It's 8 a.m. in New York, 5 a.m. in Los Angeles, 1 p.m. in London. Sydney, Australia is at 12 midnight. And wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy, where we are in an extremely silly mood this morning. I have to tell you, leading up to this podcast, these two were talking about stuff that was like in outer space. It was so crazy. So be ready for what is going to be.
I don't think so well.
Well, come on, you were the one who was talking about the Earth falling apart. How much more outer space can you get than that? I mean, that's outer space, let's be honest.
He's just cautious of his carbon footprint. It's okay.
That's true, yeah. But nevertheless, it was kind of out there. Well, anyway, I wanted to, I didn't actually have a chance to tell you this before the podcast, but I want to pursue something that we actually started a month ago. And Alex will remember this because we were talking about creating some kind of a fiction show to do, like on a regular basis on LOA Today. And we actually did one show where we kind of explored, some of the character development and so forth. That was about 30 days ago, and then we just dropped it. And that's my doing.
You dropped it.
Well, that's my doing more than anybody else. I agree. So I figured, time to bring it back because I think it's a good idea. I think we had gotten off to a good start. We just kind of have to keep developing it a bit. So. Yep. I actually dug up the episode where we did it. We call it The Grass is Greener. So I'm calling today's episode The Grass is Still Greener, just to kind of carry on the theme. But in that episode, we pieced together two of our main protagonists, two of our main characters in the drama. And so let me just reinforce for you who they are. And I think we actually had a different name, so you'll have to help me, Alex, with what the new name was. But the first character, the main character, is named Nance. She's a 32-year-old talent agent. She has a very successful career, but she kind of lacks some basic street smarts when it comes to reading through other people's BS. She's a regular at red carpet events, so a pretty cool career when you think about that. And she doesn't like being alone, which is kind of ironic because she recently divorced her 30-year-old ex-husband, who we formerly named Brett, and I can't remember what the new name was for Brett. Can you remember what it was, Alex?
Miguel.
Oh, okay. That's what it was, Miguel. And Miguel is an electrician, and she left him because she found him to be too boring. Okay. She's also a soccer mom. They have two kids together, Lana and Miguel Jr., and now she dates married men and ends up playing the victim a lot, which is not a real healthy scenario. Miguel, on the other hand, is an electrician. He's 30 years old. He's Hispanic, and he loves soccer, which he calls football, of course, and which he introduced Nance to. He works for another electrician because he's kind of afraid of becoming self-employed and having to deal with the financial instability of being an entrepreneur. And that's as far as we got with it. But it was a good start. And I guess what I want to do today is kind of talk about, so what do Nance and Miguel do? What's their... What kinds of stories are they involved in? Because ultimately, that's what makes a good drama. That's what makes a good fictional story, is the stories, the storylines. And we didn't really get very far with that, did we, Alex? I mean, I remember the episode where you and I did that, but we didn't really get into that too much. So we
just created the characters.
Yeah, exactly. And I know Tom is good at doing improv, so I figured this is kind of a good show to get it all kind of kicking off again. So, first I'm going to ask Tom, I mean, you heard the description that Alex and I put together of those two characters. Do they give you any ideas about, what kind of storyline to put together or where to go with it?
I'm a little confused still because she was married to some other dude and then she left him for Miguel.
No.
Then she divorced him too?
No, it's the other way around.
Oh, what? Tell me.
She was married to Miguel.
Oh, okay.
And then she divorced him.
Yeah.
And now she dates. Yeah, she's dating a married man.
Yeah.
Oh, she's dating a married guy who had what was his name?
We haven't decided yet.
Yeah.
Oh, but she's dating a married man. So, yeah. And why do we care what happened to Miguel, or who are we following? Both of them?
Well, we're following Nance primarily, but Miguel plays kind of like the healthy role. He's more of the healthy person when it comes to the relationship, even though he's a little bit scared about being an entrepreneur.
But he's completely on his own now because he's divorced from
Right.
her.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it isn't about their relationship.
No.
They're
Well,
divorced.
Well, potentially it could be.
They could come back together.
Sure, why not? That's always possible.
we don't know.
Oh yeah, well, lots of clients. That's what they contact me for.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
About 1/3 of my clients contact me because they want back
They want
their
the
previous
right.
lover,
Yeah.
one way or the other. They're trying to get them back.
That is
How
like
can I
the ultimate
visualize
question.
them back into my life? Yeah.
Yep. So
Then it turns into 8 weeks of them realizing that they're projecting onto their external other person all of their happiness, thinking that once they have that person, they'll be happy. It's just then they have to go through this wake-up call to realize that they can't really get their happiness from an external source like that. Well, they might get their person back, but they might get somebody even better too, or they might really need to be alone for a while.
Well, I feel like that's the lesson that Nance needs to learn in the end, is that she can't rely on other people for her happiness.
Oh, okay. That's what's going on with her a lot because she's kind of like bouncing from guy to guy and looking for satisfaction from a person, from this relationship.
Looking for love in all the wrong places.
Yeah, where have we heard that before?
yeah, right.
I don't even know what song that is. I just know that lyric.
Well, Abraham Hicks say it endlessly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because she uses that as her way of explaining what people are doing in relationships constantly, and not only in relationships, but in other ways too. Looking for it from career, looking for it from food, looking for it from whatever,
Yeah.
And you can only get love from within.
Which
So how serious is our story going to be, and how funny is it going to be?
Yes.
It's going to be it's going to be a rom-com.
A rom-com? What does that mean?
Yeah. Romantic comedy.
Oh, okay. Rom-coms are kind of serious.
Or it could be a dramedy.
A dramedy? How about a dramedy-romedy comedy?
Oh,
Drum
I like
rom-com.
it. Drum rom-com. I like it.
Put that on Twitter.
What I do know is that she found what's his name again? I forget what his name. I got to write his name down.
Miguel,
that's it. She found Miguel to be boring, which I thought was an interesting comment to make about him because in light of the fact that she's looking for love in all the wrong places, like you guys were saying, it makes me wonder if he's boring because he's not giving her that love that she's looking for outside of herself.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
So she only sees him in that, in that dimension, but she could be totally justified too. Some people give a relationship their best shot for a long time, and then they finally go, well, you know what? This just ain't gonna work because he's not gonna change, his focus either. So, who do you say is doing the right or the wrong thing?
Yeah.
Everybody's got to do what they're doing, and so you don't know that stuff until you're into that person's personality deeper. Like when you work with them and you start finding out, well, they've got this pattern in more than one relationship, or that's their relationship to themselves. They're always running from their own inability to be content, or to live with themselves.
Right.
So looking for external stimulation all the time.
So, Tom, when I was reading their description, and once we got ironed out, who was married to whom, which was a little bit confusing to you at first, I understand that. Does hearing about those couples, does it kind of give you any kind of ideas about, what's a good starting storyline for our little serial that we're putting together?
Well, since you've got two divorced people in your story already, it's then, I would say it means that they're going to be still interacting with each other. Why would you introduce the two characters if they've already been divorced, if they're not, unless you're following each of their individual lives? But that's
he'll be in and out because they have two kids together.
Ah, yeah. See that. Okay. Well, I think he should be a, this oceanographer who's keeps,
I love it.
going out on and to sea and and he takes out his young son, Tony, all the time, but he leaves Natalie a lot with her mother. So Natalie starts to resent her father, starts to resent Miguel. And Tony, thinks that he's special to his father. So he starts adopting his father's way of looking at Natalie as less than. And they both start looking at the mother as less than. And so, that resentment is building, and that father is teaching his son, to resent women almost, like by they're these rugged individuals who go out on the boat all the time, and they do all this stuff with sharks up the ocean, and they work with stingrays a lot too. And so anyway, turns out one day that what's the mother's name?
Well, the mother is Nance. And we actually had names for the kids. The kids were Miguel Jr. and Lana. And the reason we went with Miguel and Miguel Jr. is that Alex felt pretty strongly that there needed to be a Hispanic side to it, because that creates an added dimension to the character that perhaps helps to explain why he and Nance are together, and just gives a different dimensionality to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing we do in improv is that one person starts telling the story like that, and then it passes to the next person.
Okay.
So they keep telling the story. Now, is this what you want to do with your podcast, Walt?
Well, I'm not sure I want all the podcasts to be about this, but I'm thinking like, this could be like a segment each week, right now I'm doing 10 podcasts a week. I don't know if I can come up with 10 episodes a week. That's probably more than I know how to do. But if we could,
just go ahead.
But if we can come up with like one episode a week, that would be pretty good. That's a lot of work all by itself. So I figured that would be.
Are you anticipating that the audience is going to like this?
I hope so.
Your listeners are going to like this, and the law of attraction is going to be in it, because we're going to be at some point critiquing the story.
Well, partly that, but I also would imagine that we'd want to include many of the concepts that we learned from law of attraction studying in the story. When when Miguel and Nance separated, there was a law of attraction thing going on there, which was counterproductive to their relationship. And then as Nance gets involved in this married man relationship, there's a law of attraction thing going on there. There's a deliberate creation going on, because she keeps attracting the same kind of guy over and over again. And then, like you were describing.
We got another person. Hi.
Oh, on the podcast? Oh, yes, we do, don't we? Hello there. Yeah, we have James listening in. I don't know if James wants to participate in the conversation. I'm going to unmute you, James, just to find out if you want to participate. Oh, no, he's still muted his end. So we'll just assume he's listening in. That's fine. If you decide you want to participate, just unmute your mic, James, and we'll be glad to include you in the conversation. But if not, you can just listen in. That's fine. Oh, he's unmuting. Hello.
Yeah, hey there. I just I downloaded it from your YouTube channel. I didn't realize you guys were live now.
Oh, well, there we go. Hey.
Yes, we are.
Thanks for finding us. This is great.
Great to see you guys.
Yeah.
I'll tune in. I'll listen to what you got to say.
Yeah.
Well, we're inventing. We're inventing a new serial, a fictional serial, to include in the ongoing podcast schedule. And this is a concept that Alex and I started developing about a month ago, and then we kind of dropped it. And I was thinking today, we should really get back to it, because we had a good idea in its very nascent form started, and let's see where we can go with it,
Okay.
So, yeah. I'm not sure how much of it you've heard so far, but we kind of laid out who the characters are that we've developed so far, and we're trying to figure out, so what do these characters do? And that's where we are. This is like spinning and making it up as we go.
Yeah. Okay. And I was suggesting that one way that's done in improvisation is that it passes from person to person the story. So like one person tells the story for a little bit, and then they stop and it goes to the next person. Now sometimes it's just done with 2 words from each person, which is very interesting. But this could be like each person gets 2 sentences and then passes to the next person, or each person gets a couple minutes, and then it passes to the next person. Mm-hmm. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think's best? A couple minutes?
I think we just go with whatever each person. When it's your turn, you can just come up with whatever you want and just pass it along when you come up with what you got.
But don't tell Tom that.
What? That I can go as long as I want?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I care about you guys. I want you each to have a couple minutes during the hour.
I love it. Okay.
And James, too. It's James? Where are you
Yeah,
calling in
it's James.
from, James?
I'm calling in from the UK because obviously, Walt, I'm pretty sure you posted it on the Law of Attraction, and today I got time to come on. And are you guys live on the podcast right now?
Yes.
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 No way, that's awesome.
Yeah, well, we figure if you're going to record a podcast, why not do it live as well, you know?
Yeah.
Well, there you go, yeah.
Where in England? Where in the UK are you?
I'm from Nottingham, so, well, I'm from
Okay.
Grantham,
Okay.
but it's close enough if you guys know where that is, so.
Not at all, but that's okay.
Think Robin Hood.
Big Robin Hood, right?
Okay. Oh!
Ah, there we go.
East Coast, West Coast, South?
Oh, wow. East. East-wise.
East,
East-ish, yeah, we're going east, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So, East
Alright.
Midlands, yeah.
On the coast? Oh, East Midlands?
No, inland, yeah, East Midlands, yeah.
Inland,
So,
yeah.
yeah, it's
I
beautiful
like
around
your
here.
tattoos.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah. That must have been fun to have that done. Wow.
Oh, well, we won't say
Yeah.
anything about that. Yeah, that tested me. There were a few tears falling.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah, wherever the skin is the thinnest is the hardest tattoos.
Indeed. Absolutely.
That's why you'll never see a tattoo on me. Forget it. Not happening. I just believe in being nicer to my skin, that's all. It's just very straightforward for me.
No, I love it.
No,
love it.
I believe in punishment. It's great. I'm getting one for my birthday. It's gonna be fantastic.
Well, where are you getting it? No, you don't have to tell us.
I don't know where I'm getting it. That's the thing. I know what I want. I just don't know where I'm putting it.
Yeah. Okay. Somewhere where the skin's really thin, you said, though.
No,
Yeah.
not where the skin's really thin.
Oh, not where the thin skin.
No,
Okay.
I don't think I could handle that.
Okay. Cool.
I'm sitting here trying to figure, is there some way to tie this into the storyline of our fictional story?
Yeah, we could have both of them get tattoos. And then,
Yes.
and the
Yes, they
kids
can have
get
a couple's
tattoos.
tattoo. They can have a couple's tattoo.
How about a family tattoo?
Well, the kids aren't old enough.
Oh, there's an age limit on that?
Well, they're still in like soccer mom age, so they're still
Yeah.
like 10.
Their skin's
maybe
still
12.
stretching.
Yeah.
Okay.
That and they're under 18, so they can't get tattoos. So yeah.
Ah. Okay.
well, there's also a
I do
question
want to
then.
say I feel like Nance and Miguel were high school sweethearts.
Okay. Well, there's
And
also a
that's
question
probably how
where
the relationship.
where tattoos are concerned. Did they get the tattoos while they were married, or did they get them afterward?
No, they got them before they got married.
Before they got married.
So while they were dating.
So potentially there's like an issue that the tattoos are in some way expressing that ties into, not only why they got together, but why the relationship didn't stay together.
Possibly.
I mean, because when you got two people getting tattoos, they think at that moment in time that that's pretty meaningful, right?
Right. Like this is forever, literally.
Yeah. And then it turned out to not be forever. That's a little bit of drama going on right there.
Mm-hmm. And now she's got to look at that tattoo every day and go,
My God. This is intense.
it is. That's why it's a drama rom-com.
So are we going to take turns then telling the story?
Sure.
Or how do you want to do it?
No, I think it's fine.
Yeah. James, you want to join in?
You
I'm
can-
going to sit back and get the gist, and then I may
Okay.
join in, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
All right,
it's
cool.
It's called improvisation. So what you have to do is in improvisation, you just step up and see what comes out of your mouth. And you don't think about it ahead of time. You just sort of start following whatever thread. Of course, you have to trust that in improvisation, one of the main things is that anything goes. And so you don't make somebody wrong for what they come up with.
right.
You know,
Right.
so if the story goes in some bizarre way, you have to trust that Spirit is guiding it, and it's going to reveal exactly what we need to know and what our listeners need to know about law of attraction, because we are master teachers of the law of attraction. We're like these wizards of. Yeah.
Love it.
Okay. That's good.
I just made that up. But
No, I thought that was well done, actually. You did very well. So. All right.
So who wants to go first?
Well, you already laid out a little bit about Miguel, how he. I mean,
Yeah.
we had him as an electrician, and you turned.
Oh,
him
that's
into
right.
you turned him into an oceanographer, which isn't necessarily a bad transition. No,
Well, he could have a boat. He could have a boat
Why
and
not?
take his son out on the weekends and
Yeah.
not his daughter.
that would work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like that aspect of it.
That's really good. That's got a lot of potential right there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think what we need to do at this point is develop Nance a little bit more, because we have a few teasers from what we previously came up with. The fact that she's a talent agent, and presumably a talent. I think we said that she's in Los Angeles, so she's a talent agent basically in Hollywood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
And that's how she ends up on all the red carpet events. But on the other hand, and she doesn't like being alone. But on the other hand, the man that she was married to was boring to her. That was a key element. That's one of the reasons. That was the main reason she gave for why they broke up, why they divorced.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But it also raises a question in my mind: why is it that she then goes to be involved in married men? Because there's usually some kind of psychological thing going on there. I mean, women don't normally say, I'm going to go date a married man. That's not the way that normally goes.
She doesn't know. She's not aware that they're married. That's going to come out later.
I'm sure that's true. Yeah, but the question is, why is she attracted to them in the first place? What is it that she thinks psychologically, subconsciously, is drawing her to a married man without realizing that he's a married man? There's got to be something going on there. Now, part of it, I would think, is that most married men don't actually play around, but there are some that do, and they're called players for a reason. So he saw something that basically told him, I can take advantage of her. I can pull the wool over her eyes and pretend that I'm not married, and I can get whatever I want from her, and the rest of it, screw the rest, who cares? So that kind of an attitude is involved here. I mean, Tom, I don't know if you have anybody that you can kind of draw from your own experience with your coaching, but can you think of any themes that lead somebody to unwittingly want to date married men without realizing that they're married?
Sure. I mean, one thing could be something about her way she grew up, that she saw her own, one of her parents did something similar. Well, it's one reason, like maybe her mother was always attracted to other men that were friends of the family, but usually were married to, had spouses. They'd come over and stuff, but she always would notice her mother flirting from the time she was a really little girl.
Right.
So she developed this thing of the same thing because she was impressed with her mother's pattern, but she bought into the same sort of dysfunctional aspects of it, that it's not a very healthy thing to be doing because her mother modeled that for her.
So she's learned to be a flirt, but she hasn't learned anything beyond the superficial side of being a flirt.
She's looking for her big psychological motivation, or she's looking for security that comes from a real marriage, but she's looking for it in a way that she's not allowing herself to really have that, because she's not really, she's looking for men that aren't really available in a really healthy way. So, trying to understand that dysfunctional aspect of it, that's got to be some kind of a wounding there that her mother had, and then she's got it too, why would you go for somebody who's really not available in a healthy way, and if you did get involved with them, you're going to break up a whole other family, maybe, and,
well, it strikes me that flirting is a key portion of that little psychology that we're putting together. Because if you flirt simply for the sake of flirting, if you flirt because you found that to be an effective way to interact and to meet people and to get to know them without carrying it on to, here's how flirting leads to dating, which leads to an ongoing relationship, marriage, and being together happily ever after. Because if that part was missing, then the flirting just becomes an activity in and of itself. It has no real world connection, so it doesn't have any meaning beyond the flirting. And so flirting just becomes a way of living. It just becomes
an addictive behavior.
Yeah.
It's
addictive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she's getting a satisfaction out of that because it gives her a sense that she's valuable and worth it to this man because she's beautiful or she's attractive or sexual or something. And so she gets satisfaction from that, but it's a really shallow satisfaction. It's and so she probably bounces from guy to guy. Once she realizes that it's going to be messy, she maybe then moves on to the next guy.
Which makes sense, because once reality starts horning in, all of a sudden the flirting isn't as much fun anymore. So now you got to find somebody else to flirt with.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's only looking for a superficial gratification that makes her just get a certain payoff from it. Just like, if you really want a deep sexual relationship with somebody that's really intimate and beautiful, but you spend your time looking at porno and masturbating, you're not going to get, you're going to just be building up that whole other superficial side of yourself, and you're not going to really be available for a deep relationship because you're not developing your more spiritual side of what it takes to be intimate with another human being. So that's what she's doing. She's staying in that superficial world of.
So now we have a better idea of what we mean when we say that she found Miguel to be boring. He was boring because he stopped flirting with her. Or the flirting just got boring. The flirting became uninteresting because she saw him every day. So it's like, well, why flirt with him? I already know him.
Well, and the relationship was only going to grow if she went deeper. If she went into her real level of vulnerability. Because to be truly intimate, that's what we're afraid to go beyond the surface level of things, because we don't want to really be vulnerable to what might really be in our subconscious, in our unconscious, lurking in there, because, her mother was unable to go deep with her father, and so she doesn't even know what real intimacy looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's, but she knows that must be something scary there, because it's an unknown. It's the world of the unknown, for one thing.
So Alex, when you and I were talking about this the first time around, I think we're kind of on this wavelength that we're talking about here, although we didn't get into this level of depth with it. But we were also talking about how we wanted the characters to grow, right?
Yes.
And Nance, it strikes me, is the one who probably demonstrates the most growth in the storyline as we've got right now. And we can kind of see where Miguel would have some growth too, because we outlined the fact that he's a little bit scared about being in business for himself. So there could be a growth path going there. But the big growth path is going to be around Nance. So Nance is really the central figure here. I mean, do you agree with that?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, but Miguel has got an equal complementary pattern that he attracted Nance into his life. And what was it about him that he was okay with a woman that that couldn't go deep, or was he really frustrated with the fact that he wanted the relationship to be deeper, and yet he attracted somebody who only was looking for this superficial level of love, of intimacy,
It's a good
then
question.
She would withdraw.
It's a good question. Because
or was he equally withdrawing from her?
It could be the one, and we haven't really defined that part. I mean, it strikes me that if he's got this relationship going with his son and the daughter is feeling kind of left out, like you were outlining before, then he's got some kind of a family thing going on there in his psychology. He wants the spiritual side of family. He wants to have that relationship side. So that tells me that there's at least some leaning in that direction. I kind of think of Miguel as being somebody who really wanted the full relationship.
Me too.
And he
did.
And he was kind of drawn into the relationship because Nance was attracted to him at first, and he was attracted to her in every way, but she grew away from him or more precisely, he grew away from her, but it seemed like she was growing away from him, from his perspective, even though he was the one doing the growing and she wasn't. So I think that left him confused.
He came from a family where his parents were more bonded. They were originally from Mexico. They were from a small town in Mexico where they had more of that sort of a simple lifestyle, but they knew how to have a family. They kind of knew how to be really tight with each other. But they also had the old traditional patterning of the man being more machismo. He was more like he had that quality of like that old quality of the man being more superior to the woman in a certain way. The woman had her place, So the woman was supposed to be, the one who did the cooking and did the cleaning and raised the children, but she wasn't supposed to be, like fully empowered like the man was. And so he was always giving her this message that she had a certain place in the family, and she was supposed to be this wife that just did her duty in a certain way, and she was completely different. She saw it, as she was much more expansive in who she wanted to be, but she was wounded in this way that she couldn't really go deep with him. Yeah, boy, they were really in different wavelengths.
I could tell, yeah. It's amazing they got together at all.
If you actually knew them, you would see how
if you knew them.
Well, there's other qualities to them that we're not really getting into. Like, she's much more complicated than what we've described. And so they've got a lot more going on as human beings than just their superficial behaviors that were described so far.
Well, let's flesh that out.
She had a really loving side to her, and she really did appreciate him for his family qualities. So she wanted a family, but she had this addiction that's constantly driving her to get gratification or acknowledgement from men, from constantly going man to man like her mother did, or all these different couples that would show up at their house for parties and things, and her mother was always flirting with these guys. So she developed this superficial way of thinking about relationships that, so then when she meets a guy who's capable of maybe going deep in a family, but he's communicating to her that she's supposed to have this certain role of a woman, that's old traditional role, then it just turned her off.
And that's becomes his growth path, because now he's basically coming face to face with the new world confronting the old world. The old world is where he came from. The old world of the like you call him, the machismo man, the guy who says, the woman's place is in the home. He's the guy who goes out and earns a living, all that kind of traditional stuff. Mm-hmm. And he's face to face with a world that isn't accepting of that anymore. And he's constantly butting his nose up against that. So that becomes his growth path right there. How is he going to deal with that?
Let's take a break and ask James, how is this working for you, James? Is this like absurd and you want to get off this call as quick as you can?
Well, he's still on the platform, so we haven't lost him entirely. That's a good thing,
I think that it's absolutely fascinating. I love it. And there's one, and I hope that I can sort of pitch in here. There's one question I wanted to ask. And it's very, very interesting. Is obviously these Nance and Miguel. Mm-hmm. They've obviously, they've got these underlying subconscious things, and they don't know, a lot of people, and, as well as Nance and Miguel, they don't know that these things are really affecting the course of their life. So at what points in their life would they have perhaps picked up the information? Because I believe that, especially with Nance, she keeps going to these married men, she keeps going to people who aren't available. At what point in her life would she have been able to pick up the information that would have helped her to see the error of her ways? And only in the sense that she's obviously not getting fulfillment. She's obviously constantly, being put in this cycle of pain. Because, if she's not finding, obviously it's an addictive trait that she wants to flirt and things like that. So I guess there is, of course, that element that she wants to get some satisfaction from it. But surely the constant searching is going to eventually bring up some pain. So at what point do you think she'd receive the information that would help her to move out of that and find perhaps what it is that she truly wants to have in this world?
Well, at some point...
Well,
go ahead, Alex.
Go ahead.
We've been talking over you, so you get your time now.
I was going to say, in her current relationship, which is, again, with a married man, and who has kids also, and then she feels like she's breaking up the marriage, and once she finds out that he is actually married, someone in her office is going to suggest that she sees a life coach because she's noticing these patterns. Probably her secretary or somebody who keeps track of her life, you know what I mean, and sees these patterns is going to suggest, some friend of hers is going to suggest, you should see this life coach or this therapist that I saw, and that's going to lead her on the path of law of attraction.
Yes. Okay.
I would think also that a big factor here is most often when people are ready to make a change, they hit bottom in a big way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
So it's more than just she found out that he's married. It happened in some sort of sequence of events where it just feels like her entire life is falling apart. Not just her relationship. Everything is falling apart. Everything's just crashing and burning.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
And that's when her associate or friend or coworker or whatever suggests, you really need somebody to talk to about this.
Right.
I mean, that's the way it works in real
bother
life,
you.
right, Tom? People don't come to you when they're saying, "Oh, well, I'm kind of hurting a little bit." They come to you when they're saying, "I really need help. I don't know what to do. I am lost." That's when they come to you, right?
Yeah. People try to, there's a really good analogy about that. It's like, if you imagine you're in a swimming pool and you've got all these beach balls, right? And each beach ball represents a part of your personality that you're trying to, keep down, and not show up in your life because it's, you learned at a very young age that you can't be that way. And so you push these things down, but eventually you can't hold all those balls down and they start popping up and hitting you in the face. And that's sort of what happens. A person, like you say, she doesn't just have this going on with relationships. She's got some issues going on, I'm sure, with her job. But sometimes people have really great results in one area of their life, and there is only one area that's really messed up. So you don't know how it's going to happen with each person. It's very interesting how it works out. But it only takes one thing to make to screw up a person's life.
Well, I'm thinking that, for instance, you were talking about how Miguel would take his son out onto the boat, and this was creating some sort of dysfunctionality with his daughter, who felt like she was being slighted. And I can just see how that turns into some kind of a crash and burn at the same time that Nance finds out that her current beau is married. So now it feels like all of her family life is falling apart.
Right, because her daughter was left to spend a whole lot of time with her because Miguel thought he wanted to teach his son these manly arts, but he didn't really think that his daughter's place was on the boat. So, he thought she should be with her mother, learning, feminine qualities of how to cook and how to take care of the house and how to be a good housewife, a good woman for some man at some point. Because he cares about her now. He's idealized into his daughter all the things that he couldn't get from his wife and that he thought his mother was, or something. And now, so now, what was I going to say? There's resentment building in the daughter, but then the daughter's also getting this message from her mother that her mother's not really available. So now the daughter's getting left alone too many evenings while her mother goes out. When her father's out on the ocean with his son for a week at a time, and the daughter's with her mother, but her mother's going out with these different guys and coming home. Anyway, you can imagine what a mess the whole thing would be for that poor daughter.
Where were you going to go with it, Alex? Because you started to say something, then Tom really did some great embellishing. But
I was going to say that is probably where the rock bottom is that she spent 2 years in this relationship with this married guy, and then finds out that he's married, and the fact that he had put in so much time in with her daughter, that's where she's like, okay, I thought this was really going somewhere. I thought we were going to be a family, and my daughter loves you, and blah blah blah. And then he's like, then she gets I don't know, like a Facebook message from the wife going, "Who are you?" Mm-hmm. And that's how it also. And then she's like, that's how it's going to go down.
So how does that affect Lana? Lana is the daughter, because the daughter has been building this relationship with a married man too, and now she finds out that this guy isn't really going to be in her life the way she was hoping she was going to be. So now she's got two father figures who are basically abandoning her.
Yep. Now she's got daddy issues and abandonment issues. Yep.
James is shaking his head.
Sorry, I've just got to go a second. It's amazing. Just 1 second.
I didn't know they had commercial breaks over in UK. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. It's called the bathroom, right? We don't have them here.
No.
Well, this is interesting way to play. It's an interesting game. I like it. It's
we've created this monstrosity, and it's probably one that would hook a lot of people in. Look what James' reaction was.
It's probably the way screenwriters sit around and create shows.
Exactly.
Yeah, when they do it as a team,
Yep.
Which is actually, I think, the fun way to do stuff anyway. So that's why I'm liking doing this. Okay, so
teamwork makes the dream work.
So we've set up this pretty bad crisis. Now, at what point? I mean, the way most screenwriters, the way most serial writers would write it is they would have Nance lurch from this crisis into a partial recovery, into the next crisis, into a partial recovery, into the next crisis, so they can keep the serial going. We're actually going to try to heal these people a little bit. So how are we going to do that?
Well, she starts seeing the life coach, and the life coach starts working with her on her self-esteem issues and why does she have this addictive pattern with men, and and what's this doing to her daughter, and where does she want to begin to make amends, to begin to work on this, how does she want to begin to work on this? And so that's the biggest question. So she's got to go, ideally, if I was working with her, we would help her get into the feelings she has around the sadness and what are the emotions she's experiencing around the situation. Does she feel frustration? Is she starting to get a physical symptom in her body that's happening? Is she
good question.
She getting migraine headaches? Is she getting I don't know, what would you be getting if you were in her situation? Now she's also, got this thing going on where she wasn't even that pleased with this guy she was dating because he was starting to appear more and more like somebody stable in her life. And then that was triggering her need to get a new man to acknowledge her as this beautiful woman, because obviously she's very beautiful. That seems obvious, but that's one reason that she goes for it so much is that she doesn't think she's beautiful enough.
I feel like she's average. I feel like
she's average, but she's trying
and that's why she goes for all the compliments.
Okay, she's always wanted some guy to convince her that she's actually good enough.
Yeah.
And she's worth it, So her father must not have felt that, must not have communicated to her mother that she was worth it or something. She must have gotten that message too. And so she has resentment against her father, which she projects towards men also. So she's giving this mixed message to men of like, I want you, but I don't want you. Or,
right.
I love you, but I hate you, So that way she can easily leave a guy and move on to the next guy.
Maybe her father cheated.
Well, that could be.
Sure.
Wow. Anything's possible.
Yeah, that would fit the pattern very nicely, wouldn't it?
Right.
I got to start writing all this down if I'm going to coach this woman. That's what I do, man. I take copious notes when they're telling me all this stuff because, see, then I take them on an alpha journey in meditation where then they go into something that's triggering them in their life, and then we go into all the bodily sensations and the emotions that are coming up, that are bubbling up around this whole thing, so that they can begin to feel what that all feels like in their body, because it's those early woundings that cause it to be repeated over and over again. Because she got traumatized when she was young by the situation she was put in. She learned she was just having herself, stretched between her two parents, getting these mixed messages of, and never getting a healthy message about what a real family looks like. Right. But they were pretending to be a real family. And so they had these people coming over all the time and stuff for parties, and other family members coming over for get-togethers, and they always pretended like they were a healthy couple. Her parents did, but she knew that her mother she could tell her mother was flirting with all these other men. And her father knew it too, but he had an affair going on, so he looked the other way in a sense, So what a terrible message for this young girl to get growing up that,
it also means to me there's a second storyline now branching off here, because while she's going through this with the life coach, her daughter is acting out the exact same experience at the same time.
Yeah.
So you flip back and forth between Nance in therapy or Nance in the coaching situation, bringing all this stuff up, and Lana actually acting out the exact same thing in her real life.
Because Lana's getting the same mixed message from her parents.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a vicious cycle.
So now we got our second simultaneous storyline going. That's cool. Because that's what makes these things interesting is when you have multiple storylines all happening, the subplots
Yeah,
all
but can
happening.
you
at the
keep
same
track
time.
of all this? Well, I guess between all of us, we can keep track of it.
Well, that's one of the reasons we record the
I'm
podcast.
getting exhausted with it, trying to follow it all.
That's why we record these, so
That's
we can
right.
play it back.
Oh,
Exactly.
okay. So in between episodes, we watch this again. We watch this podcast. We go, oh yeah, that's right.
That's right.
That's where we left off.
But then, but the funny thing about this psychology stuff is that you almost have to like own it. I do, I have to almost like own it in my guts in order to see what it feels like to be in these people's shoes. It's like, how do you be in this poor little Lana's shoes? Like, her father's going away constantly with her brother, and her mother's going out constantly with she's going out with this one guy, but she watches her mother flirt with other guys. And so, but leave her alone a lot. And yet when this other guy comes over, she thinks he's going to be her father. Then she finds out he's not going to be her father because, her mother's attracted an unavailable man. And, but her mother wants the guy to leave his wife now because she thinks that she's committed to him and now he should be committed to her. Mm-hmm. And so then you got the psychology of this other man and what he's going through, cheating on his wife. And should he leave his wife for?
No, he has no intention of leaving his wife.
Oh,
no,
okay.
he doesn't.
No.
He doesn't.
Okay. That character, the way I see him, is somebody who loves to be a player, but he is so insecure in himself that he has to have that one home base. He's going to do everything he can to pull the wool over the eyes of the woman he's married to. Because he doesn't want her to catch on to what's going on.
He's just trying to have the affair on the side because he's not getting enough out of his marriage. Yeah.
Right. Which means he's not getting enough out of himself, but that's the subplot for him. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But all of these are about the person not getting enough out of their own inner self-worth. This is all about self-worth and self-esteem. That's the bottom line with everybody, right?
Yeah, that's true. And plus also Lana, the daughter, we were talking about how Nance is very much into the superficiality of the relationship and of the flirting. The flirting is a big thing for her. Nance, or Lana, is mimicking the behavior, but she can also tell on a certain level that it's not working, and so she's bitter about it.
How old is Lana?
Lana's 10.
10. So she's not yet in the realm of dating and all that.
Yeah.
No, but she is acting out in school.
Oh, okay.
How is she acting out, do you think, Alex?
Good question. I would say, like, talking back to the teacher.
She has a lot of anger.
Yeah, she's got a lot of resentment. Yeah.
She's a bitter person.
Resentment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and rightfully so,
And doesn't know where it's coming from or what to do with it because she's only 10.
Right. And she's kind of looking for somebody who will shelter her and will mentor her because she's not getting
a hug.
She's not getting it from her mother.
I just want a hug, please.
She just wants a hug.
She also wouldn't mind going for a boat ride with her father.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, if we could work with them, we would get her out on that boat pretty soon.
Well, she also resents her brother.
Well, sure.
Right.
Yeah. That's
And her brother is getting, unfortunately, conditioned by the machismo, that her father still has some of that. I mean, at least he doesn't have it fully because he moved from Mexico to the U.S. and when he did, he started being around men and seeing men in movies and everything who weren't portraying that same macho thing. But he still has a couple Mexican guy friends, and so he still got it going on, where he still feels it in it, and he watched his father do it all the time he was growing up, be this alienate his mother by being machismo. But he realizes that it's a hurtful pattern to some degree, but he's still doing it. He's got it deeply in his patterning, his conditioning is to be that way. But his son doesn't get that from his schoolmates and stuff because he's going to a school that has mixed races, but most of the Mexican kids there don't really have machismo that much in their makeup because they're in the U.S. for a while. They're like first, second, and third generation kids who really don't have that as much in their makeup. Yeah,
right.
So So the son is more open to his sister being there and doesn't understand why his father really is just taking him out, but he feels special because his father's taking him out and is, you know, and,
Well,
and he just accepts the fact.
he also doesn't understand why his sister is so resentful toward him.
Yeah.
Right.
She's like, this is father-son time. Like, why do you care?
Yeah. Why are you getting so
But he
bent out of shape
treats,
about it?
but he treats her the way he watches his father treat
Right.
women, which is
Yeah,
that
because there's no father-daughter time. That's the thing.
they have their place. You know, women have their place, and she should accept her lot in life. You know, that's because she's a woman. You know, and she's a girl. She shouldn't be out on the boat. That's for the guys. You know, but
It's making me sick just listening to it.
I know we got to get to the healing.
Absolutely, this has got to happen soon.
We keep making the story just sicker and sicker.
Well, so Nance has been going to the life coach now for a while, and she started to have a couple of revelations where, you know, they're sort of taking her through this journey and they're taking her along this path, and she's, you know, discovering more about herself. She's starting to realize, you know, perhaps some of the roots as to where all of these, you know, behaviors have been coming from. And then she starts to look at her daughter. And when she looks at her daughter, she kind of gets this rush of, you know, wow, like, I can't believe it. She's seeing similar things. And I think that she asks her daughter the question, you know, how are you feeling?
Yeah,
And
funny
then-
she asked her that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But want to say more about that?
No? Feel free to.
No, it's a good contribution. I like that. That's really good.
That's a good one.
That was good.
Now we got to hit it in the direction of the healing, because her mother has gone through a lot of revelations. And so what does her mother see now? She sees that she's got a pattern, and she's known this for a long time, but now she's, the life coach is helping her see that, there's an addictive nature to that pattern, and that she's really is looking for love in a way that she can't really get it. She really does want intimacy with somebody, and so, but she's been attracting men that really aren't available. You know, in her previous husband, she attracted a guy who put her into a box, into a role, and wanted her to conform to that, and who was attracted to her, but then, you know, once she realized that he expected other things of her that she wasn't willing to give, then she started looking for other men who could give her the strokes that she needed. And now she's seeing that she probably really does need a real marriage, that she started realizing she wanted one. She never wanted to be like her mom and dad anyway, because she learned from them. I don't want to be like them. You know,
Right.
I don't want to be
That's
like
always the thing, right?
my mother.
I'm not going to be like my parents. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And then
you grow up to be like your parents.
because why? Law of attraction says because you're focusing on their traits, and so you're vibrating with that, and you can't help but then attract that same thing into your life because you're vibrating with it, and you don't even know that other vibration of what it, I mean, you do in your heart of hearts, you do in your soul, you might say you know what a healthy relationship is somehow because you're a human being. So there's something in you that understands that. But it's like, how do you undo that conditioning? So Nance needs to own the sorrow that she felt and the anger that she felt about her parents being the way they were and leaving her, sort of abandoning her to be the way that they were. What did her father, Nance's father, do?
Well, he was an electrician, and he's also...
No, that's Miguel.
I'm sorry, who are we talking about now?
Nance's dad.
Nance's father.
Oh, her father. Oh, I'm sorry. We haven't actually talked
I
about
don't
the
know, we
father
never
yet.
discussed that.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't?
But he's got to have some similar characteristics to Miguel, I would think.
Yeah, I think he was a Marine, and after he was a Marine, he became a high school teacher and the woodshop teacher. But he was super meticulous and super organized, you know. And he did everything like by the book, and it was good because he could like get his students to really become disciplined, you know. So these gang type guys and stuff actually would come into his woodshop, and they would actually start doing better because they admired him, you know, and everything. But the way he was at home was that he was pretty strict, just like Miguel. You know, he had this he had this thing where he expected his wife to fall in line, and to do her part in the family in her role as a woman. And so it was more that American way that, men expected a woman, which is not that different than Mexico or India or other countries. There's a lot of people in UK and France and US who expect a woman, at least they did in the previous generation, especially in my dad's generation. They really were conditioned to expect the woman to, and even in my mom's generation, the woman was either going to be a nurse or a school teacher. They didn't have a lot of choices, or they were going to just take care of the family.
Yeah, it was pretty limited.
Yeah. And that's pretty recent, so that would be more like Nance's mother and father were in that generation, right? Or is she, I don't know how old she is.
Nance is only 32.
Well, that's true, yeah.
Okay.
So you're right. You got to move the generation up a little
Well,
bit.
then her parents were a little more baby boomers, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then I'm way off base.
Well, you're not all that far, because baby boomers.
If her parents were baby boomers, they could have been anything.
Well, that's the point. That's exactly the point. We can make them anything we want them to make. Want to make them, but chances are, and I think you can actually say this about boomers in general. Boomers still tended to mirror their parents, but with a rebellious part to it.
Well, but rebellious, but they also had the influence of spirituality and music and all kinds of things that were liberating from those old constraints. So they could have become, her parents, if he was a Marine who then taught high school woodshop, he could still be a baby boomer, but he's going to also have this whole, he's also smokes dope. And he also.
What if they were hippies?
Or something. Or he drinks a lot of beer or something that makes him more, a little bit more, less inclined to be so straight as his father would have been. He probably had a really straight military father, and that's why he went into the military. Now let's get into his grandfather. Yeah, no.
Well, we'll actually have to, because we're actually running out of time for the episode, and I want to make sure I get a couple of announcements in. First, if you're not yet a subscriber, please become a subscriber. You can see this is going to be good stuff, and you're going to find out all what happens to Nance and Miguel and the crew just by being a subscriber. So subscribe to the podcast. The instructions are found just about anywhere that you're seeing the description, but if you don't see the links, just go to the homepage of the website, loatoday.net, and follow the appropriate link for your particular device, and it'll just set you right up. And once you're a subscriber, please do share the fact that you're subscribing. And also, I want to remind people, in case they haven't figured that out so far, Tom's a pretty well-developed life coach. If somebody's looking for a personal life coach, Tom, how they reach out to you, because they need to know that. Yeah,
they can go to my website, which is YouAreJoy, the 3 words, youarejoy.com. And on there, you can sign up for a free coaching session with me. It says a half an hour, but yesterday I did an hour and a half with a person. So, I'm pretty open
it's
to
a little
it.
Flexible.
Whatever the session takes, so that you have an experience of actually getting coaching from me. Then you can decide if you want to sign up to do more.
And then I also wanted to acknowledge Suraj. Suraj is used to the fact that, and our live stream listeners are used to the fact that we often make these into Q&A sessions, and we didn't do that today. And he actually raised a question, so I wanted to make sure we didn't ignore it. It's really off what we were talking about, but let's just take a minute and talk about it. He says, what do you think about Nostradamus' predictions? Is he a spiritually awake person because he predicted 500 years ago? Does that give us any indication of who he is? From an LOA perspective, what do you think about Nostradamus? And I figured, Tom, you've explored so many different spiritual modalities. You must have touched on Nostradamus at some point, I would think.
I know very little about him. I just know that whatever I've ever heard from him, I put him in the same category as any of the prophets and, like people who could supposedly see into the future. Edgar Cayce and all these different guys. I just feel like, sure, like listen to it and see how it sits with you. That's how I say. Each person needs to take something like that. Even if you're going to read the Bible or you're going to read any scripture, you read it if you want to, first of all, and then how does it sit with you? Does it resonate with you? And if Nostradamus resonates with him and it informs him on some level where he says something comes alive in him, then I would say go with it, but you might outgrow it too, because I think it's like Abraham said, anything that comes from the past really is old news. And even though there might be valuable things in it, it's not what's happening right now in this moment. So let it inform this moment. That's what I say.
That's
from
very good.
anything from the past, because
Okay.
because like Abraham said, things are changing so fast that they don't even say what happened at the program last week that they gave is still that relevant to the program they're giving this week.
They do say that. That's true. Yeah. Good point. So
it's just like our story with this. It's like it's going to change if we do this for, and every week's going to be what's going to be important is what's happening in the conversation moment by moment.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's true. It's very true. So good. Okay. Well, that's a good ending there. Alex, I'm going to give you the last word. I don't know if you can possibly sum this up, but what's your last word about what's going on?
Give James the last word.
Yeah, give James the last word.
All right.
Or you can both have the last word.
No, he's our guest. Let's be nice to our guest.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for letting me be the guest. This is an absolute fluke. I love it. The last word, can it be anything?
Anything.
Yeah.
Okay. On the last word, I would like to say for everyone who's watching, no matter what it is you're going through, who you are, or what you're dealing with, just remember that sometimes you may not have all of the information in this current moment that can help you to get to where it is you want to be. So just like this beautiful podcast of all of the amazing exploration of these characters and who these people were, and some of it you may have resonated with, some of the people in those characters, they didn't have all the information, that could help them to get to a fulfilled life. So remember that no matter where you are, you can always improve it because there's always an answer or some solution out there for you.
That's beautiful. Excellent.
Good
Thank you,
last
James.
word.
Love
James,
it.
are you a life coach, James?
I am, yes.
The truth comes out.
There
I thought
it
so.
is.
Well, in that case, we're going to invite you to come back next week and help us continue to flesh out the story because you got stuff to contribute
I would
to.
love to.
Well, then please do.
And how do people get in touch with you, James, if they want to do some life
good point.
coaching?
Yeah, I've got a website, so that's www.jamesmalins, M-A-L-I-N-S, official.com. There's a few bits and pieces on there, and I'm all over social media with Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all those kind of things, as just James Malins, so you can check me out there. And again, thank you for that shout out. I appreciate that.
Fantastic. Well,
Thanks for coming on.
This has been a great day of revelation.
Appreciated your contribution.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
yeah. All kinds of good stuff coming out today. So, listeners, now you know there's every reason to keep coming back every episode because you never know what's going to come out. It's going to be great every time. And we hope that you'll join us next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.